Hello, my name is Ike Antonio Thomas. I'm the executive director here at Solita's house. So this is it will be not such of a short video. The video is going to be a little bit longer, but this is just our process to the steps to homeownership. And this is one of our helpful videos that we try to do. Oftentimes people take the home buyer education class and they didn't get everything. So this is a video to hopefully connect the dots for you, help you understand the process, our process at Solita's house. Know that every housing counseling agency may be a little bit, their process may be different. So I just want you to understand our process, and so that if you have questions, you know where to go and what to ask. So first, let's start with home buyer education. For anybody that's interested in home ownership, you're interested in buying a house, the very first step with Solita's house is to take a home buyer education class, all right? In the home buyer education class, which is your first step, you have to successfully complete the workshop. Once you complete the workshop, you'll receive a certificate of completion. Or if you attended class and let's say you missed an identifying question, especially virtually, or you didn't sign the disclosures, we're going to hold your certificate. It's not a big deal, okay? We're going to give you an opportunity to do additional steps so that you can get your certificate. So at the end of class, you're going to get an email that says, hey, attaches your certificate with all these goodies, or your certificate was held because of X, Y, and Z. So here are the things that you have to do, all right? That email is going to come from Kim Murphy, and I strongly encourage you to read the entire email so that you know what steps to follow. You're going to gather all the required documents and you're going to schedule your intake appointment. And this is whether your certificate was held or whether you have a certificate in the email that was sent to you. All right. So that's the home buyer education workshop. Understand that if you take the class virtually, it is at your own risk. So if your laptop dies, if there's, a lightning storm and you don't have internet anymore, whatever the case may be, there is nothing that we can do. All right. There is nothing that we can do. So to be on the safe side, I'm a people person, but we do have an option for you to take it in person, okay? And then you kind of don't have to worry about identifying questions and so forth and so on. But anyways, that's our home buyer education class, our workshop, all right? Okay, so then once you do that, then you move to intake. Intake is not housing counseling. The other thing is that home buyer education does not automatically get you a City of Tampa DARE reservation number, okay? None of that happens. We ain't got no money. That certificate is just one of the requirements for a program that you might want to participate in, okay? But that certificate, there's no money attached to it. Okay, so you finish the class, now you move on to intake. Understand that intake is not housing counseling, okay? But intake is where you come, you're going to attend in person, and you're going to bring all your required documents. The required documents that you need, the checklist, is in the email that Kim sent you from the home buyer education class after you're done with class. If you're missing any documents, this is going to delay your process. And it's going to delay us scheduling you an appointment with the housing counselor. However, if you have all your documents the day that you come into your intake appointment, we're going to collect them. We're going to create a virtual file for you and your housing counselor. And then we're going to schedule an appointment for you to meet with your housing counselor. All right. So you're going to walk away with that appointment and you're going to know who your housing counselor is and how to communicate with them. So now you're ready for your housing counseling appointment. So what happens in housing counseling? When you get to housing counseling, this is like a relationship. You're going to meet your housing counselor for the first time. They're going to meet you. So your first appointment is really about reviewing all of those documents that you submitted. You being able to explain to the counselor where you're at. Hey, I've been trying to apply for a mortgage and I've been denied everywhere, and I really don't know why. I think it's my credit. And so then now you and the counselor can have conversation about those documents that you submitted that would be important to determine how ready are you for home ownership, number one. And then number two, to set expectations. And the expectations for housing counselors is to ensure that you have, as a client, as our client, an action plan with viable steps for you and the housing counselor to work on every time you meet. Okay. Now, counseling is communication, right? So don't expect for the housing counselor to tell you everything. You also have to tell the counselor, hey, I can do this. I'm limited with this. I'm not sure about this. I'm lost here. I got this point, but I don't understand this concept. Okay, so really it's about the meeting of the minds in order to create a viable action plan to get you from where you're at to mortgage readiness and then to purchase a house. So that's usually what happens in your first appointment. In your second appointment, a lot of the times the counselor is going to review income. They're going to review assets, and they're going to review your monthly budget. And I know sometimes people say, my monthly budget, I already know how to budget. Listen, per our grant guidelines, we must have a verbal budget. So, and you usually did that in your disclosures. And then we have to do a verified budget. And the verified budget is where the counselor is looking at your bank statements and they're determining whether or not you are living in the red or you're living in the black. Okay. And they have to, and again, it's for you to sit down with your counselor to determine what are those action plans. If you're not saving, how do you start to save? If you have too much debt, how do you reduce that debt? Are there any saving steps or things that you can do? Okay. Once that is done, then we move to credit and debt. And this is where the counselor, you and the counselor are going to review your credit report. Whether it's a credit report that you use from a credit monitoring system that you're utilizing, or whether, we've advised or you've requested us to pull your credit report. One way or the other, doesn't matter to us, just has to be a credit report that we can actually review. And this is where you and the counselor are going to review that credit report to determine where are your credit scores, number one. Number two, are you doing everything you can to increase your credit scores? And if not, what is it that you have to do? Should you work on just paying off debt? Do you maybe need one or two more credit because you don't have a lot of credit items? So in this particular appointment, they're going to really dive into your credit report and ways to improve it or get you in a position that a mortgage lender is going to look at your credit report and give you, the green flag that everything is okay. All right. Once that's done, then we're going to move into mortgage readiness and mortgage affordability. Mortgage readiness means that, hey, we looked at all those things that a lender's going to look at when they're trying to approve you for a mortgage. And remember, that's your capacity, that's your credit, that's your capital, and that's your collateral. Okay. And we're also going to talk about mortgage affordability. How much can you really afford? And remember, approval and affordability are two different things. Okay. You can be approved for a loan, but you might not be able to afford that loan. And so it's important that you and the counselor discuss mortgage affordability. And they're going to give you a mortgage affordability profile to review how much right now with your current income and assets can you afford in a mortgage. Okay. And then do you need down payment assistance? And if you use down payment assistance, what does that look like? Okay. Then your next appointment will be to review for down payment assistance programs and to determine if you meet the DARE prerequisites. Okay, and then to complete your DARE referral. So understand that, and there's a lot of times people say, well, I took the homebuyer education class and I went to counseling, but I need DARE. Well, DARE referrals are only done and completed once we know that you have met all the prerequisites. Okay, so in order to do that, per our grant guidelines, and you can call the city if you want and ask, this is what we must review: your documents, your income, your assets, your credit, your debt, determine your mortgage readiness, your mortgage affordability. We need to have those conversations with you before we look at, are you ready for DARE and do you meet the prerequisites? If you do at that time, then the counselor will work with you to complete an internal DARE referral to be sent to the DARE program. Okay, so now I have something in red here that says, per grant guidelines, appointment types are determined by your readiness and actual income and asset status. You may have additional sessions due to low credit scores, insufficient credit, lack of budget, or insufficient savings. Meaning, you could go to your first appointment, you can go to your second appointment, and in your second appointment, you don't have a budget, you don't want to talk about a budget, you at the Burger King drive-thru trying to do your Zoom appointment, you don't have time, you on your lunch break, you don't have time, oh, time ran out, then we're going to schedule another appointment to discuss the same thing. Okay, you don't automatically move to credit and debt. All right, and again, this is to ensure that not only do we follow the steps to our process to homeownership, but that you are empowered in knowing your mortgage readiness, affordability, and what you can and can't afford, and what programs are out there. All right, so let's move on. So homebuyer education, intake, housing counseling is ongoing until you purchase a house. It is ongoing until you purchase a house. So let's talk a little bit about what your home buying team looks like. Remember, the home buying team, the key to success is communication. So here's you, and here's your counselor. The minute that you've done enough counseling, you guys now have this really good relationship. You're being successful with your action plans. You're meeting all your action plan tasks. Now you get a DARE referral. So now the DARE processor is introduced to your housing team. All right, your home buying team. Then once you get your reservation number, then you might be looking for a loan officer, or you may be in the DARE process and looking for a loan officer at the same time. Okay. After that, then you may have to go and recruit a realtor. And then once you find a house and you sign a sales contract, then the title company comes in. So this is the gist of your home buying team. And this is the hierarchy. Your housing counselor and your housing counselor and your DARE processor should always be included in every single email that goes on about your home buying process. Communication is the key to success. Okay? If you have a question about, hey, what about my inspection? Well, that's a question for your realtor, but I would include your housing counselor as well. I would also include your DARE processor, because if you're using DARE funds, there's 2 type inspections that have to happen. All right. So this slide is really to explain your home buying team, and that communication is the key to success. And this is the hierarchy. If you want to be successful, you want to make sure that your housing counselor and your DARE processor are always included in all of your email communications. Now, I put some things on the outside just as key reminders. 1, If you are using DARE funds, you must continue housing counseling until you purchase your home. Even though you have found a realtor and you're going to look for a house, you still need to meet with your housing counselor every month. Okay, whether it's a phone call that you guys do, or there's some email conversations that happen, or whether you meet Zoom or in person, but it needs to happen every month if you're using DARE funds. Only a housing counselor can determine if you are ready for DARE and if you meet those requirements. Only your housing counselor can determine that. We often get emails that say, hey, I did an intake, but I don't have my DARE reservation. Then you don't understand our process. Okay? And I kind of said it twice. Only a housing counselor can make the referral to the DARE program. Okay? Now, if you cannot use DARE, well, let me back up. You cannot use DARE funds if you sign a sales contract before receiving your DARE reservation number. Okay, so if you finish class, you do intake, you're in housing counseling, you're working on trying to get to DARE, and you find this amazing house, and you sign a sales contract, and now you determine, oh Lord, I need down payment assistance. Because you are under a sales contract before getting a DARE reservation, you can buy that house. You just cannot use City of Tampa DARE funds. All right. So let's go over to the yellow. Your housing counselor needs to be included in all communications regarding the purchase of your home. And again, it's just so that everybody is aware of what's going on. Okay? You must always have a follow-up appointment with your housing counselor. When you meet with your housing counselor, every single time, whether it's phone, whether it's email, whether it's in person, whether it's Zoom, however it is that you meet, your housing counselor is responsible for saying, okay, so we're going to touch bases again in 2 weeks on June 30th at 2 o'clock. Not just in 2 weeks, I'll call you. No, you need a specific date and time. This is so that everybody stays accountable. Okay? Remember, this is your transaction. You are responsible for the effectiveness of communication between your team. If you took our home buyer education class, Anthony talks about empowering. Anthony talks about how you're the boss, right? So boss up and manage your team. Make sure that your housing counselor is doing what they're supposed to be doing, the DARE processor, your loan officer, your realtor, and then when it's time for closing, the title company is doing that. All right, so let's move on to our next slide. My next slide talks a little bit about the DARE process. And I put this in here because oftentimes people, because I think they don't understand our process, it gets confusing. So hopefully this clears up some questions. So remember, you're in housing counseling, right? And your counselor is the one that determines whether you're ready to go to a DARE orientation. And let's say that you did everything. You did your budget. They reviewed income and assets, and you're ready to go. You're mortgage ready. We determine your affordability. You like that mortgage payment, approximate estimate. You're ready to go. You meet the prerequisites for DARE. Then you and your housing counselor are going to work on doing a DARE referral and gathering those documents. Okay, so after you and your housing counselor have successfully submitted a DARE referral with all required documents, then you will receive a Zoom invitation to attend Solita's House DARE orientation. During that DARE orientation, we're going to review program guidelines, expectations, next steps, and program disclosure forms. Okay, understand that every single program or every grant that we have, they have their own disclosures. And so we are required to make sure that those forms are signed by you, that we explain them, and that we gather the documents that are required. All right, so you attend DARE orientation. It's probably about an hour and a half. I think it's either a Wednesday or a Thursday night that we do it. We usually do it once a month. Once that happens, then we begin DARE processing. So what is that? Well, we have to request third-party verifications for everyone in your household that is 18 years or older. And third-party verification requests are for employment, bank accounts, Social Security, any income or assets that you have, anybody has. So if you have a child that is 20 and they live with you and they work, I'm going to have to verify their employment. Okay, and I can't do it where you just send pay stubs. We have to do a third-party verification. We have to send out the information directly to the employer. Sometimes this can take up to 30 days depending on who you bank with, how many bank accounts you have, and then who your employer is. Okay, in orientation, we're going to ask clients to help us out. This is where it's important for you to have that one email address and make sure that you check your spam and your junk. So if we're sending you something because we have a question, your employer is not responding, or we need a signature, it can happen rather quickly because you're checking your emails. All right. Once we send out those third-party verifications and receive them, then we do a DARE review and submit for approval. So what does that look like? And this is our third step. So once all verifications have been received and are correct, the DARE process will complete the following. We're going to do household income calculation. So now we've got to calculate all the income based on the verification forms that we received. We're going to complete a DARE application. We're going to complete a household income certification form that we're going to send to the head of everybody over the age of 18 to sign. And usually we do that electronically. We send it to you, but then we're going to call you and say, hey, we just sent you an email. We need you to sign this. Some clients wait 3, 5, 10 days to sign it, and then they want to complain because it's taking long. Remember, this is a two-way street. Like, we got to work as a team here, okay? All right, so the DARE processor, like I said, will send out the household income cert form for you to sign. Once all documents have been signed and reviewed, then we submit the packet to the city. The city then reviews the packet. If there's any corrections, they send it back to us. We make the corrections and send it back for them to review again. Once all that happens and everything is good to go, then the city will send us an approval with your reservation number, and then we send it to you. This can sometimes take 30 to 45 days after we have submitted it to the city. Okay, so that is the DARE process. It took me 2-3 minutes to explain, but it doesn't happen in 2-3 minutes. And I'm going to tell you, in order to be successful, it's really to just stay on top, make sure that everybody is communicating. When the DARE processor needs information, they're going to send an email to you and your housing counselor. That's why, again, it's important, per grant guidelines, you are required to continue attending your housing counseling sessions. All right? Okay, so my last slide is just some resources and some tips to kind of help you through communicating and developing a viable and positive relationship with Solita's House. One, this video and other helpful videos are located on our website. I also have put on our website our staff directory. So it's got everybody's emails, names, phone numbers, and that's all located on our website. So sometimes we'll get an email that says, oh, I have an appointment with my counselor. Well, you should know who your counselor is. And don't send the email to the admin, send the email to your counselor. All right. Make sure that you're checking your spam and your junk email. Make sure that you save your housing counselor's name, email address, and use it to communicate with them. If you have general questions, you're lost in the sauce, you don't know, I fell off the wagon, but I want to get back, just send an email to the admin, all right? Read your emails, all of the whole thing, okay? Use one email when conducting business at Solita's house. Sometimes we'll get someone that says, oh, I didn't get the Zoom email. And then when I say, well, is this your email? Oh, no, my email changed. Okay, well, I didn't know. Okay, so make sure that you're using one email, and if it changes, that you report that change to your housing counselor. Understand that your housing counselor is not the intake administrator, and your housing counselor is not your DARE processor either. Okay, understand that. If you have questions about your home purchase process, so readiness to purchase, mortgage types, do I do an FHA? Do I do a conventional? What is a 203K? What is USDA? What if I'm a veteran? If you don't know what your affordability is, oh my God, this bank said that they can only approve me for $100,000, but this bank said that they could approve me for $180,000. What's the difference in that? So that's affordability. What type of down payment assistance programs are out there, and can they work together? How do you select a realtor? What about, how do I know which is the best mortgage for me? All those questions, you've got to contact your assigned housing counselor. They are HUD certified. They studied, they had to pass this hard test, and that is their job. So ask them, okay? Listen. With Solita's house, we get a lot of clients. And I'm very short-staffed right now. So we want the cream of the cream. We want the best. We want those people that want us and want to really work at this, okay? So if you're a no-call, no-show for an appointment, I'm going to terminate your case. All I need you to do is, if you can't come to an appointment, is to send an email. That's your receipt saying that, hey, Aixa, I sent my counselor an email saying that I couldn't attend because I had an emergency. But if you're a no-call, no-show, I'm going to terminate your case. If you are non-responsive after my counselors have tried to reach out to you on 3 different occasions, we're going to terminate your case. Okay? Again, we want those that really want to work with us. We want those that, are about their business and about the steps to becoming homeowners. We want to help you on that path. So hopefully this video has helped you to understand how to create a positive relationship with Solita's house. At the end of the day, know that Solita's house was created by a woman who needed help buying a house. And when I learned how to buy a house, it is my job, it is my duty to make sure that I teach others and that my team helps me with that mission. Okay? So I wish you well, be safe, and look forward to celebrating you as a new homeowner. Thank you for listening.